Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another Thursday night episode of The Professionals. I'm so glad you're joining us tonight. It is a wonderful night where I am. I hope it's a wonderful night where all of you are too. And tonight we're going to be talking about George Perez. Just stories. I'm pretty sure every one of us has met him, interacted with him. I have a pretty cool story that I'm going to share. And so that's about it. Let's get to it. Without further ado, we'll bring on some of the other bros, and then I will say hi to the people that are joining us. Coming up first, and usually he's last when it comes to joining us, but no, he actually logged on first. So I'll just let you guys guess who it is. Forget it. I'm bringing him on. It's Mr. Art Bear.
Yeah, unbelievable. This is a miracle. This is a miracle night.
It is a well, it's not Christmas anymore. So it's not it's just a miracle. I couldn't believe it. You know, the way this StreamYard works is, I log on, I send the link out to everybody, they pop in, and lo and behold, Art was the first one to pop in. I mean, I think I fell out of my chair.
It will never happen again, but yeah, only on your live streams will I come in early.
Oh, I feel so special.
This is going to be a great show, man. George Perez, I mean, you just talk about the salt of the earth. Not only great work, but just a great person, just a great human being. So I can't wait to talk more about it.
There you go. All right, coming up next is, as he likes to call himself, the Wraith of Joy. He is a Wraith of Joy. It is Aaron Lopresti.
Art's not even on time for his own show when he hosts. This is unbelievable that he was first one in today.
Yeah, it is a miracle.
That was it. I couldn't believe it. It's amazing you call yourself the Wraith of Joy, but you're wearing a Nebraska jacket. I don't know where the joy comes from. But.
Let me just flip that over. It's classic Marvel. When I was a kid, that's where the joy comes from.
Okay, there you go. Now I get it. Now
you're talking.
Up next is, we like to call him the manliest man in comics. No, I'm already here. I would be the second manliest man in comics behind this gentleman, and that is Graham Nolan.
Yeah, I'm first man. You are second man.
Well, I mean, you were born before me, so.
You did set yourself up for that, Andy.
I did. That's fine. But I did set myself up for this. Look at these four people. But wait, there's more. It's the Boom Master himself. He puts the boo and boom. Frag a boom.
There he is.
Boo.
Boo.
I put that in boom, really.
What is that? Boom?
Yeah.
Dan is going to be working while we have our chat.
Yeah, so my camera is going to be off. Otherwise, you're just going to see this purple lights. But I'm here.
That's fine. Graham, for some reason, is out again. So when he comes back,
it's the manliness
back
quota. I came on board, and then the T levels just crashed.
Isn't that the Bugs Bunny TV theme song? Overture, purple lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it. Boom.
Yeah, I think you did, Dan. You intimidated Graham Nolan, and he bailed, man. He couldn't handle your manliness.
I guess so. Boy, he's back. Was it something Dan said?
No, I was gonna. I've got a couple images I wanted to share, but Chrome was telling me that I needed to reset something, and then I had to reboot Chrome. So I ended up bouncing myself out. So hopefully it'll work.
As long as you got it worked out. Let's say hi to some people. Let's see who's joining us.
Wait. Let's explain why Billy Tucci.
Oh yeah, Billy is out of town. He's not at his house tonight.
That's what it was.
And where he's at, I believe he's in Pennsylvania. The internet service, as he put it, is awful. He did try coming on before the show started, and it was nice looking at him and seeing this.
Yeah, he feels terrible about it, but because he had a lot of images he wanted to share too. But he sends his regrets.
Well, it just gives me more time to talk with Billy, not hogging all the airspace.
Oh, sure. Oh,
Shots,
look at that.
Shots.
This is what I love about Billy. He's shooting me $5. Thank you, brother. He says, forgive me, bros. Love you all. And love Uncle George Perez at Family Farm in Pennsylvania Mountains. Horrible
Love you,
circa
Billy.
2010 internet. I
Mm.
think you mean 1995 internet, because 2010 wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
you'll
working
dial
on
up stuff.
AOL speeds.
Yeah.
That's what he's working on.
Do you remember that? Like on what was it, CompuServe or something like that? It was like the
CompuServe,
chat line. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I remember when Marvel wanted us to start delivering digital files, and then they were like, yeah, let's try it, and it would take all night to send them a freaking file, and I was like, I'm not doing this unless you get some kind of like what do they call that? Where you have a tech
ISDN?
support, you have a tech
FTP
support,
or-
something like that. And it wasn't until years later that they did that. But holy crap, yeah, you hear that. All that
Oh my God! Yeah.
You know, the worst
But
part.
you remember how slow it was, but because it was new, we had nothing to compare it to, and we were just like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing."
I was like, "There's a waste of money, man."
Now, except when you're trying to bid on something on eBay, right? And you bid on it, you have to like bid like 2 minutes early because it take a minute for the screen to refresh to find out if you're still a high bidder or not.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Late kick in the house. Hello, Charlie's London. Hello.
What's up, lady?
Charlie's from across the pond.
That's right. Ronald Shaw, Stippling Vaughn. Stippling says, having been a fan of Georgia since a kid, I'm excited. Hail to the detail master that makes your head explode. That is true. Ronald Shaw in the house. Marcus Kellegrew, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person over this past weekend because he lives in town.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice guy. Lots of people in the chat. Smokey the Concat, Eric Boyd, Epoch, Rick, Dwayne. Thank you all for joining. Thank you so much.
Did you see that Mike Roshirts? He says, "Hey Andy, currently in Belarus."
Yeah, wow, he's in Belarus. Ugh.
Wow.
Well,
stay safe, man.
Stay safe, brother, man. Yeah. We're thinking about you guys. So anyhow, yeah. So for those that don't know, so we're going to be talking about George Perez, and for those that don't know, which I imagine everybody watching and tuning in does, is George announced in December that he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and instead of doing treatment, he's just like, man, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do things on my own terms and basically just live the rest of his life on his own terms. Have everybody here been affected by somebody they know with cancer? My dad passed away 7 years ago from it. And
yes.
Yeah, my mom died back in 1994 from lung cancer.
Yeah, my dad was esophagus and
my mom 2012 lung cancer. My buddy Mike Turner cancer. It's no fun.
No, but I tell you, since the reason I asked is because my dad didn't do really treatment either, and that's a move.
That's a gutsy.
I think that's a respectable move.
I think it depends on the type of cancer you're suffering from, and you have to weigh the cost benefit analysis. Pancreatic cancer, there's no coming back from that. That there's statistically, well, there's not even statistical. It's just that's it.
Right.
And what are you going to do? Spend the rest of your life in treatment and sick and radiation and chemo when you can go through, do your farewells and stuff like that with your mind intact, and just manage pain as that becomes,
and not a sense of false hope, right. Those treatments give you false hope.
Right.
So,
and every day is special. Every day is special, and I can't say just how incredibly inspired by George that I am, because of he's showing us, as a Catholic, you're born and you die a natural death, and that's it, and he's showing us a very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Just full of dignity,
Well, when my dad My dad had a lot of health problems before he passed. So he had like a massive heart attack and was hospitalized and couldn't get the help he needed. So the family had to decide to move him to another hospital when they couldn't stabilize him. He wasn't stable, and they didn't really encourage it, but he was just going to get worse there. So we did. He got better eventually, and then he got on the donor list for a heart transplant, and everything was looking good. And then, they check you out like crazy for these transplants, and they found cancer in his lungs. And so that's eventually what did him in. But the reason I'm telling this story is he taught me how to live, but he also taught me how to go out with dignity. And that man never complained. He never talked about it. He just kind of lived every day to its fullest. And wow, what a gift. What a gift.
It's a heroic journey.
Yeah.
It's a heroic journey.
All right. Let's see. Oh, Charlie's. Thank you so much. Never necessary.
17 pounds. 18 pounds.
18 pounds. 18 pounds is what I weighed when I was born. No.
Nice.
What my let's make this show a little dirty for Aaron. It's what my balls weigh.
Wow.
You must have read Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tip.
Geez, nuts.
Just the preview pages put up, I was like, I feel swelling in my nether regions. What the hell is going on?
All right, I'm out of here.
This is getting weird. I'm with Aaron.
So Charlie says, guys, this is going to be such an amazing show about such an amazing man. Sadly, it's bedtime. So please accept this tip to grab some beers. And for God's sake, Aaron, get your wife a sandwich. Swear to God, man, open that fridge. That's what I'm talking about. I think
Charlie's
last week, Aaron
made
this nice, juicy, tasty sandwich, and I think his wife had soup.
I am getting a bum rap on this because I asked her. I walked over there and said, "Hey, do you want a panini?" No, I don't really want a panini. I'll just have soup. I said, "Okay." So I fixed her a bowl of soup, and now I'm getting crap for that.
Yeah, but you were making Reubens.
Because you got to at least ask 3 times. You got to get a no 3 times.
I offered her, and she denied. She said, no, just give me some soup. I said, fine. So how am I the bad guy in this scenario? I don't know.
You are not, Aaron. You're a man. That's why it should be brought to you.
Wait. It's 2022. I thought just by being a man, he was the bad guy. What the hell's going on?
No, look at. The problem is I made a deal when we first got married because I never want to do laundry. And I said, you do the laundry, I'll do the cooking. And I knew I was a superior cook. So that was, I knew I would take care of the culinary arts in our house. And so I was totally fine with that.
What do you got against laundry? I see these memes and my wife talks about it too. Laundry never bothered me. I've been doing my laundry since I was 12 years old.
Dude, there's too many buttons on like the washing machine and the dryers. Too many buttons. I go to the stove, turn the heat on, baby, and I am cooking.
Wait a minute. There are way more factors when you cook than set it to medium. Set it to heavy duty.
Hot water, cold water.
Right.
Colors bleeding.
You're cooking your clothes clean.
You're not supposed to wash that. You ruined this shirt. I don't want that kind of pressure.
I don't want that kind of pressure.
Aaron, now that you've explained that you actually had a contract with your wife, you are the bad guy.
I don't know. Everything I'm hearing come out of Aaron's mouth, I think he really needs a copy of Manly Tales. That's all.
Oh my gosh!
Well, I'm going to send him 2 copies.
There you go.
I'm already paying for 1, pal.
1 to lift.
I don't know. He still has that bum shoulder. I don't know if you'd be able to.
It has been a year since I had the surgery on this shoulder, and it's just now starting to feel normal. So I got to get back to working out so I can look like Graham.
Well, maybe if you were lifting the laundry, you wouldn't have a bum shoulder.
I have to carry the. Oh no! I carry the laundry up and down the stairs. I just don't do it.
You don't have a laundry.
Throw his back out.
That's right, and I don't fold either.
So. I'm not making fun of that because I've been there.
I don't actually mind folding, but I don't like doing it either. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
I know.
What are we here to talk about?
Talk about tangent. We're going to talk about George Perez, stories, art, whatever. Art. Speaking of art, Art to Bear is up first. the way we do things, we go around the horn and the host goes last. So Art, you're up first. So regale us with stories, artwork, whatever you want. It's up to you, buddy boy.
For one, George is one of your people. He is follically challenged, so
Oh,
that's, I guess, a plus for you guys.
what do you mean by our people?
I thought when he meant your people, I thought he
what
meant
you mean,
awesome
our people?
So
Well, it was these 4 people, and now it's 5. But yeah, he's a great guy. I got to meet him a couple times. I got to work with him on a job, and it's weird. Like, you got to be careful what you wish for, because I do have a bucket list of people that I would love to ink, and John Buscema. I think he was going to do a Silver Surfer. It was with Valiant, I think, Silver Surfer and Rune, or some kind of crossover that they were going to do. And so I was slated for that, but he passed, sadly. Gil Kane would be one of those guys. I've studied that guy's work. I would just love to try to do something over his work. And then George Perez was one of those guys. And like I said, be careful what you wish for, because there's a lot of work on a George Perez page, and it takes forever. So if I could do 3 pages a day, I could only do 1 page of George Perez a day. And that man's a beast, because it doesn't slow him down. He can still just bang out product. And I think he was one of the first guys when I was starting to really pay attention to artists. I have to admit, when I was a kid, I just bought books, whatever I liked. But I looked at the credits, and it was George Perez, and he was kind of a reoccurring guy. His Avengers run, I absolutely loved. I think that's the first. No, maybe there was an Inhumans. I don't know which one came first, Inhumans or Avengers. Do you guys remember?
Avengers came first, and then he was
Masters
pulled
of
off
Kung-
that
Master-
because he got
the,
offered Inhumans.
Wasn't it Master of Kung Fu that came first?
Oh, well, very first.
Well, I mean, out of the 2 that I mentioned.
Oh,
right?
you're saying between them? Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're
Because
right,
I
Dan.
don't-
It was Sons of
like,
the Tiger or whatever in the black and white magazine.
Yeah, I
Yeah, he
remember
worked in
that
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just gonna say he didn't work on Master of Kung Fu. He worked on the magazine. Was it Savage Hands of Kung Fu? Whatever
Yeah,
it was, the
something
black
like
and white
that, yeah.
magazine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Art, go ahead.
So that was it, man. I mean, and he was still kind of like the Marvel style back then. It wasn't the George Perez that he later honed the skills and became more identifiable. But even then, man, he stood out as a great artist for me. A lot of detail, a lot of work, and so I just followed his career. And then the Titan stuff, was, to me, it's the pinnacle, because I feel like he and Marv, they were creative. I mean, it was them. It was those 2. I think it was maybe one of the first times I actually got the sense of like creators working on a title. You know what I mean? Like they were actually creating the title. They were creating the characters, and I got to see it firsthand. Not just the introduction to like Cyborg and Raven, and those characters, but they just kept going, like with villains and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's kind of like a creator's dream to have something like that. And then years and years later, I did get to work with a guy on the Avengers Ultra Force crossover. And so,
That's right. Yeah.
like I said, it was a mixed bag, because it was in the summer. Mark Vasillo is a good friend of mine. He's got a Laguna Beach home, so I would grab my pages in the morning. I'd go over and we would just work outside, all day. And I remember him just banging stuff out, and me still working on like the second panel. You know what I mean? Like, he'd come by and go, "What?" Like, further along, it's like, "Look, there's like a million things in this one panel." And so, like I said, it was kind of a mixed bag. But what George did is, I was still working on black and white at the time, I think the ongoing. And so he and I were talking about it, and there was a double page spread with the Ultra Force and Avengers in it, and he drew black and white in there. And I have the page. You guys want to see it?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, let's do this. Let me click this. Let me click that. Let me click this.
There it
Did you
is.
click on?
Yeah. So here it is. Can you guys see this?
Nice. How long did that take you to ink?
I don't know.
But
But
he
you can
put
see,
black and white in there.
yeah, I got a close up kind of isolated here. So they're right between Captain America and Iron Man, and
Yeah.
they're right below flag, American flag. So there's like the Chaykin character here.
Oh
And
yeah,
if
I
you
see him. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at Chaykin's flag here, you look at the throwing star and you follow that
Oh,
arm
yeah.
down. That's Whitney. That's
Dope.
white. And then
That's so
crossing
cool.
over is like towards Captain America's shield. That's black.
Cool.
Yeah. So this was a big moment. I wish I had this page. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't have any of those pages actually.
Who got them?
I think I got them back, but I used to sell pages as soon as I would get them. I never held
Same.
on to them.
Same here.
So I was always the guy that it's like, while the book's hot, sell the pages, right?
Yeah.
Some people hold on to the pages hoping that it's going to be a classic or that they'll be worth something, which is what I should have done with all that X-Men stuff with Jim Lee and Will Spertasio, but I didn't. But in this case, it would have been the same. I think George Perez's artwork's probably worth quite a bit. I don't know for sure, but I think it is. But yeah, this was a big moment with black and white and working with George. And it was just a pleasure, man. He's a great guy. He's a gentleman, and he's a good addition to this industry, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I look at his pencils, and I'll go more into this when it gets back around, but because you brought it up, he's one of those guys that you look at him and at first glance, you're like, oh, these are so tight. Everything's there. And everything is there, but you still need to ink it and interpret the lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't just, he's not one of those pencilers whose stuff is so tight with the line weights and everything where you're like, oh, just darken it and print it. It's
Right.
all there, but you still, once you actually get into doing the actual inking on it and seeing it from that standpoint, you're like, oh yeah, he's got these feathering lines here, but how do I want to interpret them? How heavy should they be? What are they showing in the form? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the one thing that he does, at least he did when I worked with him, is I had this observation, like there's no structure lines, like the perspective, all that, there's no lines, there's no underdrawing. And so with the perspective and all those buildings and all that crazy stuff he does, he just draws that. Like he doesn't really like find like eye level and horizon and vanishing points and all that stuff. He just kind of does it. All that, just the detail of everything. And when you look at the work, you realize, man, that's spot on. And that's a talent. That's a talent because he doesn't, that's why he can work so fast, because he doesn't really underdraw. He just draws. It's just right on the board. Yeah.
Mhm. It's pretty amazing.
What about you, Mr. Wraith of Joy?
Well, okay, bring up, I got a couple things here I want to share, but here's the first one there, if you want to bring that up on the screen. This is officially, George's first professional work. There's a 2-page, like little, I guess, Deathlock parody at the end of this story.
Oh,
now, of course,
yeah.
Deathlock was a Rich Buckler creation, I guess, with whoever the writer was. I can't remember, but this is where I first saw Perez's stuff. Now, it didn't really resonate because it was just a 2-page story. And I was a big Deathlock fan because I thought he was really cool. He's half man, half monster, part machine, whatever. So I really thought this character was cool. But that's where I first got the exposure to George. And like I said, I believe that's officially his first professional work. But this is the one where I really sort of, you go ahead and share that.
Well, he assisted Rich, right?
Yes.
Yes, he started out as Rich Buckler's assistant, right?
Yes, this is it too. Yes.
This is the very first comic that I recognized, George Perez's name and attached it to something. And I want to say
Same.
Pablo Marcos, I guess, was the inker on this cover, who I actually liked his stuff too. And I think he inked George on the inside as well. But I remember looking at this and going, the one thing I thought was cool about Perez, and the thing that made it stand out to me from just, I mean, I don't know how old I was, maybe 13 at this point, was how he put, like, if you look at Ant-Man's helmet there, it's got the little sheen on it, you know, he would make all the metal stuff shiny. And I really like Iron Man always had the shine spots on it and stuff, which no one else ever did. And I really thought that was cool when I was a kid. And so this was the first experience I had. But the biggest question I have is, why is Vision being troubled by a bunch of ants? All he has to do is go ghost and they'd fall right through him. So, but anyway, that's not George's fault.
Why are you doing comic book logic right now, man? Come on.
I know. But so this is where I kind of thought, okay, this George Perez guy is pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, but he was smart enough to put the sexy girl in a reclining position.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. And the problem I had growing up is, as you can see by the shirt I'm wearing, you know, I was a complete classic, you know, Marvel zombie. I did not read DC comics except for like maybe House of Mystery or something like that. An occasional, if a cover had Dead Man or the Spectre on it, I might pick it up. But I never read any of the DC stuff. So I never, when George jumped over to DC to do Teen Titans and things like that, where he really sort of made his name, I was just like sort of oblivious to that. I mean, I was aware of him, but I wasn't really reading that stuff because I was so focused in on Marvel stuff. So this is the stuff, at least at the beginning, that I got some stuff later, but I won't, you know, we'll move along. And I guess we're probably going to do in some rounds here, right, Andy, with different things. Okay. So I'll save that for later, but this was the book, you know, where I picked it up and went, hey, this is some really cool stuff. And unfortunately, he didn't stay at Marvel all that long before he went to DC, and I missed out on a lot of the stuff he did after that. But this was the stuff that I fondly remember as a kid.
Didn't he do a run on FF as well?
Yeah, at the same time.
Some FF, did he? But how many issues did he actually do? Because these were kind of sporadic. He would do like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was like, he would do a couple issues, then he'd come back and do 3 more issues, and then wasn't Byrne kind of involved in this at the same time?
Yeah, Byrne was inside. Byrne was involved as well. He did more FF stuff, and that was actually inked by Sinnott, which he loved. And this is all I did some reading in the past few days or whatever. He loved it because Sinnott would pull everything together. I mean, that's what Sinnott was for. After Kirby left the book, it was like, oh, John Romita Sr. comes on. Sinnott inked it. John Buscema, Sinnott inked it. And then, you know, when you got to the 160s or 70s and George came on, you know, Sinnott inked it. And I read that George said that when he saw the stuff, he was like, oh, that's really cool looking. And then when he actually saw the original pages, he could see where Sinnott would like move a nose just a little bit and do these little things, you know, to, you know, kind of pull it in. Because, I mean, this was at the beginning of George's career. So.
Right. Well, they were also kind of like, there was still that kind of sort of house style going on at Marvel, right? With the exception of guys like Starlin, who kind of went off on his own. But for the most part, everything looked very similar at Marvel. So I think they were purposely getting guys, like you said, Sinnott, to kind of keep the look consistent, regardless if the artist changed or not.
Yeah, how to draw.
Well, they just when Perez took over the FF, it was right after he took it over from Rich Buckler, and Buckler was in his Kirby phase. In fact, he was actually swiping Kirby panels. And it was brought together by Sinnott, of course. And then when Buckler left, George was the next guy, and he did quite a few issues of the FF.
He did enough, because this Danke's right. 'Cause I have one of them. I think there's maybe 3 total trade paperbacks that are, you know, the FF Visionaries Perez. So
see, I never read the FF for some reason. I never read it. I was into Spider-Man and the Avengers and Captain America, but for some reason I never got into the FF. I just think because Reed Richards looked too old, and I was like, I'm not hanging with an old dude. Now I'm totally into the FF because I am an old dude.
Yeah,
and,
you are.
know,
now see, Graham loves the FF, and what I should do is this, so Graham can punch you, because he loves FF. And you I like the FF now, but as a kid, I just think, you know, Reed Richards, the old gray hair stuff, I was like, what does that old guy have to do? You know, I need young guys that kick butt like Captain America.
He wasn't that old. He just had a little streak of gray.
Exactly. I know. But see, Doctor Strange was the same way.
You're an
There's
ageist.
See, yeah, back then that was called mature reading, right? It was like if a guy had gray hair, that was a mature title, so you couldn't read that.
That is a bad.
Yeah, I was reading different
Aaron
mature
put these
titles
own
then.
rules onto himself, is what we're learning.
Well, I
these
wish
are
I'd read
sound
FF.
rules.
There's so many great first appearances and so many character appearances that came through the FF that I look back at it now as a collector, just going, "Oh, what an idiot I was!" But
Yeah, I think
Aaron had
the
terrible taste as a
definitive,
kid.
obviously, FF is just the run with Lee and Kirby. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how do you
Well,
even stop that? It's
did-
almost like you should just stop after that.
no, Buscema did good stuff on FF.
Yeah,
after that.
Buscema did
Burns'
great
run on
stuff.
FF was classic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Burns run, and you know what? Walter Simonson,
Simonson did some
really
cool
get
stuff.
talked about, but man, he brought it back to kind of like a really cool sci-fi, I mean,
Yeah.
that real cool sci-fi feel. And
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough, like I was reading that book, and then Walter's like, "You want to ink me on an issue?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Sure."
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then Walt saw it and goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back thinking my own stuff."
Yeah.
Moving on.
That's pretty much.
He goes, "Yeah, thanks for that, Art, but I'm just going to do it myself from now on." You're like,
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. God, it's like you guys were there.
If we weren't, we'll just make it up.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Exactly. We'll make up our own history.
That's right.
Some person says, "Lepresti, let Graham balk you up, become immortal."
I know. It's been a long time since I was throwing iron around like my man Graham is there now. I really want to get back to it so that I can at least. I don't have to put fake foam rubber muscles under my shirt. I can actually have the real ones again.
Well, when you first pulled the jacket back, I thought that was a tattoo on your chest. The big marble M.
Yeah, tattooed on my chest.
You should. You should get that tattoo. And then go.
You know what's
Yeah,
worse is the
I
fact
don't
that
think
Art
so.
thought that gray of your shirt was your skin tone.
Yeah, well, I've got
He
orange
lives in
and yellow.
Oregon.
No, dude, I've got orange lights hitting me to give me color, and it's still not working. It's like
Aaron the
20
Pale.
degrees outside right now. It's freaking freezing outside.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
here
going
too.
on.
Oh,
I got my pasty
no.
Irish skin right now. I can't wait till it warms up and I can go fishing and get a tan again.
Yeah.
There you go. Dan, do you want to go, or should we go to Graham until you're ready?
Well, she's giving me night kisses, and she wanted to say hi to the boys.
Hi.
Hey.
I love you. I get all the kisses.
Aw.
She's telling
Oh
Mama.
my
he's-
gosh.
she's
Say it
giving
again,
me a kiss.
sister. Preach it.
Okay. All right. One more huggy. All right. I love you. All right. Be a good girl. See you in the morning. All right. That's how it goes in this house all day, every day.
Oh yeah,
four.
I remember those
Times
glorious
4.
days.
Yeah. Well, my first time seeing Perez's work, I remember, I don't know, I might have been 11 or 12, and I was getting my hair cut at this place back when I had hair, and I wish it's like all these things kind of aligning, like finding the first comic shop and not really connecting that my haircut place was around the corner from it. But I remember this kid coming in with comics, and he had an issue of Crisis, and I remember I liked comics at the time, but collected them from the local Quick Mart, the gas station that had the spinner and the candy. I mean,
Sure.
It was like one of the things they sold. I didn't even ask him where he got it. I just assumed he had got it off the rack, except it was weird to see it in a bag and board. I thought, this guy's weird, because I'd never seen bag and boards before, but he had his Crisis inside that. But I didn't know it was Perez. But I remember thinking, God, that's a lot of lines, right? Like that's all I thought about it. And then the next time was Superman's 50th anniversary. They were these retail posters that some retailers were giving away, and it was George had done Superman on sale here, and it was sort of that Schuster, profile yellow.
Yeah.
It was the Action or Superman #1.
And I remember going,
that was the cover to his first issue when he took over.
I remember thinking, this is solid. This is really solid, and there's something appealing about it. But at that time, I'd been bitten by the burn bug, and I was completely unaware of any of the rivalries. I'll just be the devil's advocate side of like the guy that I'm a huge George Perez fan, like Perez fan, because there's a accent on the E. If you guys collect all those books, there's a really
That's
good
right.
George book called Accent on the E. But Burn stuff hit me like a ton of bricks. Perez's stuff, I always thought it was great, but then there was this Superman Action Comics where Perez had inked Burn, and I thought, wow,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah, what a killer combination! This is some
Yeah,
really
I
fun
like that.
stuff. And then I met Rob Liefeld, and you're like, this is a George Perez thing. What does Rob Liefeld have to do with it? Art knows. Rob Liefeld, in his teenage years, was a George Perez groupie. And he would go to these comic conventions at the Disneyland Hotel and basically hang out and sort of hound George.
I was there for one of those. Yeah.
I know you were. That's what I know you were. And George and Rob became friends. And I have to say, I think that's what gave Rob his temperament for me, because I was sort of the same way with Rob. I was like, hey, Spike, you want to go play ball? Spike, the little dog running around. Nah, but most of my appreciation for George's work came through Rob's eyes, because Rob was like, because again, I'm a slightly, I don't want to say a full generation, but like, I didn't buy Bronze Age books. I bought them as back issues and appreciate them, but I didn't buy Bronze Age books. I didn't start collecting until '84. So, and I was like Aaron, I'm a hardcore Marvel guy through and through. Like, when it comes to DC, definitely big milestone stuff like Dark Knight or Man of Steel by Byrne, the Justice League by Kevin Maguire, stuff that like moved the needle where you're like, whoa, wait a second. But I wasn't a DC guy, so I missed out on Crisis and all this stuff. So, but anyway, I got to learn about George and his kindness and his wonderful nature through Rob Liefeld's filter, and Rob, I mean, George is probably one of Rob's biggest influences, and I don't want to use idol because that's not a Christian thing to say, but if you could, one of his idols. Then I got to start doing conventions as a pro, and did a lot of shows with George. And one of the shows that I did with George a lot, like year after year, was the Pittsburgh Comic-Con. And sometimes I'd be sitting next to him, and I'd watch him work with fans. And he was so generous with his time and his enthusiasm. He was, when he was doing shows, just everybody that was around him was smiling. That's what George brought to it. And the same thing, he's kind of a jolly, jovial guy. Mm-hmm. Hello, Dan. It was never, hey, Frega. It's always, ha, ha, ha. So I'm more of a fan of the man. I still think his art's great. He never influenced me. I know, that's not in any way talking bad about the man, because again, it all comes down to the order in which you receive stuff. It's like, I'm crazy about Art Adams, but a lot of Art Adams' detail and attention to detail stem from a guy like George. It's like George Perez, Bernie Wrightson, or not Bernie, Barry Windsor Smith, Walt Simonson, Michael Golden. You got Art Adams, at least in the early days. So for me, I'm a huge fan of the man. I'm very glad to have spent the time I have with him, and hopefully, if he sees this show, we send our love, George.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
And he's out. He's back to drawing.
I'm still here. I got to get back to drawing.
No, I know.
Drawing too many lines like George.
See,
when I heard Art say, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You get to ink this, but then you I'm used to doing 3 a day, but with George, maybe I get out 1. And then I think about every guy that's inked me in the last while, and I'm like, Yeah. But let's go to that old saying, pain is temporary. You know?
That's right.
This
And
right.
who wins?
stuff
Who
is-
wins? The
will be-
readers. The readers win.
Yeah,
man.
If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger,
that's
Dan.
correct.
That's true. What's up, Mr. Graham?
All right. Well, as we all know, I am a huge Fantastic Four fan, and so the first introduction to George's work for me came through the Fantastic Four, as I had said when Rich Buckler left the book. And if you'll share the screen, this is it. This
Yep.
is George's first
Oh, that's
issue
cool.
on the Fantastic Four, number
I
164.
had that.
Yeah, it was a two-parter, and it reintroduced a character from the Golden Age, from the 1950s. Or I guess that would be Silver Age. A guy called Marvel Boy.
Yeah.
Roy loved those old characters. He's always trying to bring them back. So, and there it is. That's the first George Perez thing I ever saw right there.
Wow.
Yeah. I had
Yeah.
no idea until, like I said, I've been doing some reading and stuff, that he was the one, and Roy, that brought that character back. I think that was like the first appearance basically in the modern Marvel stuff, wasn't it?
It is.
Of him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It even says featuring the totally unexpected, wholly unasked for, yet not uneventful return of a real life Marvel Boy.
It's interesting looking at that style. You can see how Sinnott sort of housed up the style look. It's kind
Yeah.
of feels
Yeah.
like Buscema or whatever was just basic standard Marvel style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting
what I'm
thing for
talking
me
about.
is that, you bust on Buckler for swiping Kirby, but by
And
the same
everybody
token,
else.
yeah. But when he was doing this and Sinnott was inking him, it did have that Kirby feel, and he was able to draw the Thing better than most artists. The Thing is a very hard character to draw, and
It's
I know
fun.
it's because of the rocks. I mean, because his proportions, to get him on model onto the Kirby model is very difficult.
Mhm.
In George's work here, he nailed Reed, he nailed Torch, he nailed Sue, but I could always tell it wasn't Buckler, because even with Sinnott inking him, because he couldn't quite nail the proportions on the Thing. So it was interesting how that transition, it was like, okay, I get this. This is still pretty cool, because you also added a lot more detail.
I have to ask you just a professional question. Do you think Marvel or the editorial sized this original artwork for the text? Because there's some weird tangents, like Sue Storm's arm is right on the border, and
Yeah, that's weird.
and Reed's ear is right on, and just it's kind of awkward the way Ben is framed in there. So
Yeah.
I would like to think like an artist wouldn't have purposefully done it that way. And I've been a victim of editing where they've done stuff like this, and you're just like, I didn't draw it this way,
Right.
and then you look at your original, you're like, oh my gosh, they resized this thing.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
possible. I mean, if you look at a lot of covers, when Stan was there, Stan hated dead space, and so he'd put a word balloon in on a cover to fill in dead space. So it's not a piece of the artwork per se, but it fills space visually. And this sort of looks like that. The balloons and everything are all in dead space. And
Right.
I think you might be right, Art. They might have adjusted. Oh, either that, or it was just, George had a deadline that was really tight, because maybe Rich left the book and bam, he was thrown into it. And
Well, and that,
who knows?
that's one of the things that when I saw stuff like this as a kid, I don't know about you guys, but when I saw comics when I was a kid, 12, 13, it didn't matter who the artist was or the creators, but my mind automatically went to, oh, these must be seasoned pros that are in their 30s and 40s or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But then you think back, you go, George was like 22,
Yeah.
so
Right.
it could just be, this is the way it was, and George always draws right to the board, no light box and any of that stuff, and it's just like, oh yeah, this is where it goes. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like Dan, I admired George's work. It wasn't an influence on me. It didn't speak to me on a visceral level. I mean, I could look at it from a technical point of view, and
Sure.
he worked on books that like he went to Teen Titans, and I never read Teen Titans. I didn't like teen books and stuff like that. But the man himself, George Perez, is a giant in this industry, and his legacy is secure. He has made millions and millions of dollars for these companies because people love his work and they love him. I've met him, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times. We did La Mole Con in Mexico City, and my table was right next to his. And I thought I had a long line until I looked over and saw George's line. And that guy was a machine. He was there with every single person that came up to him. He stayed until everybody got what they wanted, you know, whether it was a sketch or a signature. And in Mexico City, if you ever do that show, you better start your squats now, because you will get up every time somebody comes up to your table because they want a photo with you. So George is sitting down doing this thing, up, down, up, down, up, down, with the pictures and the whole 9 yards. And he's just a gracious ambassador of the art form. And as I said earlier, I think he's a huge inspiration in how he's handling his final days with dignity and respect and love. He's touching bases with people. I'm seeing pictures of people coming to visit him now that he's in hospice, and he's always got a smile on his face. You know, the man's a giant. There's no two ways about it, and God bless him.
Yeah, there's a shot where Dan DiDio went and visited him. It's a great photo, man. I warmed my heart. I was like, yeah, that's really sweet, man. That's a great thing.
Let me grab this from Telepathic Bunny Comics, $5. Thank you very much. We'll check this one replay. Love to the master of the crossover splash page, George Perez, and love to the legends on the panel. You all influence me, except Art. Well, thank you very much.
That's understandable, I think.
Because I have hair. This is because I have hair. You know,
you're getting singled out. You're getting singled out, Art, because you're the only guy with hair, so they're picking on you tonight.
That's, you know, Art, I would trade. I would gladly take your hair today and insults that go with it
for a cheeseburger tomorrow.
Exactly.
You know, the funny story that Art hasn't told was that he was actually at the hospital when George Perez was born and was confused. He got some of the babies confused there for a while, and there could have been, he might have walked off with George for a moment, but then actually got him back to where he was supposed to be. But
I got out.
No one knows why Art was in the hospital there, but he was, you know.
I got into the parking lot. I got little baby George in my arms. I'm like, this ain't my kid.
Yeah, exactly. And then he had to go take him back. And so, yeah, it was really kind of embarrassing.
Instead, you know what? I kept him and I raised him as my own.
and I raised him as my own.
My name is Rich Buckler.
Well, he would tell baby George stories about, you know, when he would like be cleaning out Leindecker's brushes and things like that. And
shit,
George loved that stuff, man.
Aaron's on fire tonight, man.
Oh my God!
The show doesn't go by without poor Art getting nailed on his age.
Yeah,
no, not at all.
Well, for me, like, yeah, poor Art. Yeah.
Poor Art.
Poor Art.
He's so old.
I don't know how he gets around.
Exactly.
I know. He's a walker or something, you know.
How dare you? I can still take all of you.
You know, you did in the wrestling thing, so he must got something going on there.
Yeah. Hey, Andy, what do you got, man?
I was going to say, for me, you know, I knew George's stuff growing up. Like I said, I got into comics in the early 80s. So probably the first stuff I saw his at that time was Teen Titans stuff. And one of the Teen Titans things that's always stuck with me was from issue 39. And, you know, it wasn't until later I was like, one of the big reasons I loved it is because he inked it himself. And he didn't ink a lot of his own stuff in the Teen Titans. It was always Romeo Tangal. But he inked this one himself. And it was just this spread.
Wow.
Well, I love the whole issue.
Oh, dude, that's a classic.
Can you blow that up, Andy?
Look at the background, the detail in the background and stuff. Just a mind numbing.
This is one of those ones.
There we go.
You know, every now and then, like I said,
That's a
I
great
always thought
page.
George drew well, but every now and then you go, oh, I see what people see. This is one of those ones where you just go, this is barn burner.
Well, the thing that kills
Yeah.
me about it is like, I look at this and I just go, and the dude doesn't like box. He just takes out the paper, and this was a spread, tapes it together, just starts going.
Yeah.
He sees this. He sees this in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
which is amazing. You know, I'd be blocking things in and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
but this is how
Yep.
he sees it, right in his head. It's just
Yeah, getting it from your mind to the page that
Mhm.
accurately is pretty impressive, because that's the challenge, right? We all see stuff in our head as artists, but then trying to get it onto the page the way you envisioned it, it doesn't always come out that way. But it
Right.
seems like that was something George really had a grasp on.
And just the imagination with that Tara character where she could kind of move the earth like mass and stuff. Man, that was a great visual. Just all the detail, like the rocks and stuff. And she could throw them at you. She could move them around. I mean, I thought that was a great visual character.
Which one is
great.
that? The one with the blonde
Right
hair?
here.
The girl with
Yeah,
the blonde
girl.
bob, yeah. And also she turned into, spoiler alert, she was a traitor, so she was infiltrating the Titans. It's the first time I've seen something like that, especially set up as long as they did. They went almost a year with that character, and then you find out that she was basically spying for Deathstroke.
Yeah, she was working with Deathstroke to infiltrate, like you said.
Yeah.
They used that angle in the cartoon show. I remember that. The Teen
Yeah.
Titans cartoon show. But you know what's interesting? If I did this double page spread, I would have put a huge character right here in the foreground, so I didn't have to draw all this crap back here.
Yeah, right.
But he's like backs the camera up and just draws it all, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. So I like the way he inks this stuff. I was telling Art before the stream, I would read like comics interview magazines and stuff growing up in the 80s, because I would just love reading interviews from writers, artists, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And George said that he was inking with, now I don't know what he started inking with back, when he first started, but at this period of time, he was using a 101 pen, which is a stiffer pen point, and it's the size that fits into a 102 holder.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out and I bought some 101s because I just had to try it and see, I tried it and I was like, I still like a brush, whatever. But but this was one of the main things that influenced me growing up. His Crisis stuff, that issue of Superman where he inked John Byrne. I was going to mention, Dan, I saw some of the pencils of that in an interview.
Oh.
And when Byrne, Byrne just did breakdowns. He didn't do full pencils.
I did not know
when
that.
he got to the Themyscira stuff, Wonder Woman Island stuff or whatever, he literally left that part of the panel open and said, yeah, this is Wonder Woman Greek stuff. It's all you, George.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything.
Because he knew that guy was going to nail it and he'd be able to do it faster than he would.
Probably, yeah.
Because I'll tell you, like George Perez's Wonder Woman, I think I don't really know the stories, but I applaud it that it seemed like it got back to like this Greek kind of feel to it. It had mythology in it. And I thought, like, this is great. This is like Wonder Woman doesn't really have like a great rogues gallery or anything, but she's got the gods, she's got that whole Greek mythology thing. And I thought it was neat to see her with these columns, and these statues and all this stuff. And I thought it was a great backdrop for the character. And that was George. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I remember reading, going back to the Inhumans, when you brought that up, Art, is I was a big Inhumans fan. And actually the first issue of that book I ever bought, George only did 4 issues, maybe 5. But one of the first issues of it I bought was by Gil Kane. And then I went and looked at the rest. I had no idea. Once again, I read it over the past week doing kind of research and stuff. When he got that book, they said, do you want to do the Inhumans? And like you say, he was already doing Avengers, but this was the number 1. And it was his first, he was like, I think he was 21. And it was like, oh my God, I'm 21. Marvel's offering me a book to start, to boom, #1.
Mm-hmm.
But it was already late. He drew that whole first issue in a week.
The Inhumans #1.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And see that it's stuff like that I think about and I go, I broke in when I was 21, and if the editor would have been like, "Hey, here's your first job, and I need this whole stories were probably 17 pages back then, but still, I need 17 pages in a week." I would have been like,
Yeah, I was like, "Are you kidding?"
You guys hear about? Do you guys hear about his competitive nature? How when he went to DC, his basic contract was he has to be the top paid guy. And if somebody got a better rate than him, he would get their rate plus $1.
Yeah, that's what John Buscema did, and it drove Byrne nuts.
Yeah, and then the other thing too was Shooter really helped.
I was going to mention that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you do it. You tell the story.
You talking about the portfolio stuff?
Yes, you do it.
All right. So Dan and I were at this same convention in Fayetteville last year, and Shooter was there. And we both talked to him. And, you know, Shooter's great to talk to. He's got great stories. But one of the stories he brought up was he was working with George, young George, you know, late 70s, early 80s. And George showed up at Marvel, and he had a bunch of drawings he did of, you know, Marvel characters, whatever. And he wanted to do a portfolio. And, you know, he talked to licensing, and they wanted to charge him an arm and a leg to license the Marvel characters so he could do this portfolio. Because, you know, he's still just 5-6 years in the business, and he's just trying to make extra money. So he goes down and he's telling Shooter, and Shooter's like, "What? Hold on a second. Stay here." So Shooter marches up to the licensing, which I think he said was on the floor above. And he goes, "I hear George was just up here and he wants to license some of the characters to do this portfolio. And this is what you're going to do. Here's $1. This is how much George is going to pay to get that license." And they're like, "Okay." And then he went back down and he told George, he goes, "It's all taken care of. You just paid $1 for the license. You know, whatever I did, whatever." He goes, "Now go over to DC and tell DC Marvel just licensed you their characters for $1. I guarantee they'll do the same thing." And they did. That's what Jim says. So,
oh, that's awesome. I've heard that story.
That's how you compete in a fun way.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So I thought that, getting back to the Inhumans thing, I just thought that was very cool because I'm always just fascinated by, like, you know, at one point George was drawing Avengers and Fantastic Four at the same time.
2 team books. I mean, you don't even want to draw 1 team book at the same time.
Well, he got on Avengers because this is before royalties were being paid. And I think he said George Tuska was the artist on it. And George was like, "Yeah, I get paid the same whether it's a single character book or a team book. Could I be put on something else?"
Yeah, he's like, "Put me on Iron Man."
And then they were like, "George, you want to draw Avengers?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Man.
But
one of the was back in the day, I'll bet people were fighting not to draw like the Avengers, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was just so much work.
Yeah. But I was gonna say one of the stories non-comic wise is when I moved back to Florida with my wife in '97 from Syracuse. We moved back to the Orlando area where I originally lived in the early '90s. And that's where I met John Beatty, and, you know, John was still there. And it was through John that I met George, because George at the time, and I believe his house is still there, lives, I'm not going to dox him, but he lives like a half hour out of Orlando. And so that's how I met him. And then my wife and I went out to dinner with George and his wife. And then after dinner, we went back to George's house and just hang out. George took me up to his studio, showed me his studio, which was just really cool. And it was just a really fun night of talking, you know, comic stories and stuff like that. And, you know, like Dan says, he's always has a big smile on his face. He's been friends with Shelton Drum, who does the Heroes Con here in Charlotte, since Shelton started the show, or before he started the actual show back in the early 80s. And he was always a mainstay at Heroes Con coming up. And like you said, Graham, he would just sit there and he was doing headshots and stuff. I mean, I assume at some point in his career he did, obviously body shots and all that. But, towards in the 2000s, I think he just stuck to doing headshots. But he would just sit there and just wait until that line was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you guys remember the day when you would do drawings at cons for free?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Hundreds of drawings a day.
Man, when I see those, that was 93, 94 when I first started, and it was always like a profile of the character that you were working on. Like for me, it was Cabot, Sniper, or Gorilla, or Badrock, right? But by like drawing, I don't know, 402, the chins start to slide out and the heads start to get too big and the noses get too small. And someone's like, yeah, I got this sketch from you at Dallas Fantasy Fair in 1993. Check it out. I'm like, burn it.
Right. I still
you got number 402.
I got a few of those. I got a few of those floating around.
When you Google search your name, like every once in a while, one of these drawings will come up and it's like,
yeah. Well, when one of the first shows I did as a professional, it was in Orlando, and I was sitting next to it's where I met John Beatty. I was sitting next to John, and Mike Zeck was a guest. And I remember seeing Mike do, like Dan was saying, do profiles, and it was just Punisher, and being one of my first cons, I'm like, oh, I guess that's kind of a thing to do if somebody wants just a quick head sketch, just do a profile. So it's the same thing. I've done lots of those, and then every now and then you'll see it, and like you said, you'll just be like, oh.
What the best character is? It was definitely a relief for me was when I started working on Spider-Man. The Spider-Man profiles are the easiest to do.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Grifter. I think Grifter would be easy.
Yeah, Grifter. Yeah.
Some hair
you
in a
can
bag.
play with the hair, though. You could do a little something with the hair if you wanted to get busy. But
well, I'm just talking about like not screwing up. You draw some eyes with a cool pattern and like that hanging mask and some hair. You're gold.
Yeah.
Little collar. Throw a little collar in on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little collar action. Yeah.
Black Spider-Man costume, not Venom, but Spider-Man.
Just the black. Yeah. A lot of marker work. You got to bring
eyes filled in black.
I watched John Byrne draw a whole bunch of Batman head sketches at Pittsburgh once, and they all looked exactly the same. Some
of those guys are machines. Yeah,
could have been.
Well, I think Byrne has, and I think he even calls it this, his 3-second Batman head that he does for people, and it's just takes out the Sharpie and just whams this profile, and it's like, here you go.
This is along the same lines, but this has nothing to do with what we're talking about in terms of artist-wise. But I got Michael Golden did a hardcover sketchbook a while back.
I've got it, Heroes and Villains.
Yeah, and so I got it. I got it from. I was over talking to him, and he goes, "Hey, you want a sketch in there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Whatever." And so I figured, you know how big that book is. It's 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12 or whatever. It's a decent sized book. He sat there and drew a Batman in there, but he drew a Batman headshot that filled up the entire freaking book page. And then he had to color in all the black. He colored in all the black. And I was just like, dude, you really don't have to do that. But I've got this amazingly intense, huge Michael Golden headshot that he drew on the inside of the book. I was.
He loves you.
Do you have that? Can we see that?
Yeah.
Now, see, Aaron, here's the thing. I know you don't like books that are marked up. So I've got a deal for you, brother.
Hang on. Let me clarify. I will not let people write on my comics. Okay,
I've got this right here.
No.
That has no sketch in it. I will trade you mint condition.
No.
For that.
I want I want my art books and art prints. I want them signed. Okay, but my comic books, I do not want them signed. So I don't know what that is, but let me get the book. I'll show you.
I love when Aaron does the father routine, man. It cracks me up. All right. No. Now.
That was perfect.
You guys
sit down. We're gonna have a talk.
Eat your vegetables, Art.
This is when I become older than Art, and when I get the finger out and start saying, "Now listen,
you were born older than me."
Put him solo.
I'm gonna full screen you for this.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Oh my God, that looks like it was printed in the book.
That's beautiful.
He just sitting there just grinding out this black, and I just felt guilty. I was like, Michael, you don't have to do
Oh my
all of that.
gosh, that just upped the value of that book
Just a-
tenfold.
What the
Yeah.
hell do you fill that black in with? I mean, that literally looks like it's
It's
printed
tiny.
in the book.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can. It's textured. You can see it in this. He just used a Sharpie, I think.
Wow.
That sounds about right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
just like I luckily I was sitting right next to him because you know where my booth is in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
And he was on that big island there, you know, that Arthur Adams is at, and some other people are. And he was sitting there right behind me, next to me. So I just went over there and he just gives this to me. And I'm like, Michael, geez. But you know, he also did a remark of have you seen that? I don't mean to be going off on Golden here, but he had like a print of like the X-Men with the Sentinels and stuff that he sold a few years ago.
Yeah.
He signed it and remarked the bottom with a storm drawing on it. So I got that in the old
Lucky,
flat
man.
files. So yeah, that was really cool of him. But yeah, so anyway, talk about headshots going overboard.
Thanks for bragging, Aaron.
Yeah,
Art,
well,
you
yeah,
have
I
another
really can.
press story or anything? Or
Yeah, I was actually looking for. It was a similar con experience where I was doing a convention with Kevin Nolan, and I just did this Batman doodle, and I just thought I'd ask him, hey, could you ink this up? And he did. And
wait, he inked something over you?
Yeah, he inked over me, and I'll never sell that thing. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Oh,
It's
well,
just
let's
gorgeous.
see it.
That's brilliant. I did that to Alex Nino once because that way you get exactly what you want, but you get it really cool, right?
Yeah. It's like a cool, like better version of yourself.
Right, exactly.
But you know, as you guys are talking, I want to talk about like inkers, other people that have worked with George Perez.
But hold on. You're not going to show us this.
Well, okay. I tell you what. Let me tell my story because I don't want to slow down the show. And then when you guys when we go to Graham or Dan, I'll see if I can find it, and then I'll show it off. Yeah. Well, one, I wanted to get into maybe like that George wasn't all great. Do you guys remember his Logan's Run movie adaptation?
Yep.
Yes, I have it. I hope George isn't watching right now going, aren't you SOB?
You know what it was? I think for me is I don't know, like when you're young, you don't really know that you have expectations, but you have them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like the Aliens adaptation and some like Dune and these things that they've done, they were great, right? And so you get the George Perez one and it looks like George Perez's universe. You know, it's like his Logan's Run universe. Like it doesn't look like the movie. And
I see what you're saying.
I don't know why I expected like the actors to look more like the actors and and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they all look like George Perez characters. Like they all had like really overly developed jaw lines and everything. I mean, they look like they needed to be in the Marvel universe. And I just remember, and they were overly like because they just had like turtlenecks, like shirts on or whatever it was, and they're just like bulging out muscles and stuff.
Well,
like
I think that was wasn't that Aaron? You'll know because you said you have them. I have issue 1, but I haven't looked at it in a while. That was inked by Klaus, wasn't it? Klaus Janson.
You know what? I don't know because I haven't looked at it in a long time. I do know that Thanos' first solo story is in Logan's Run 6, I believe, and is a backup.
Are you serious?
By Mike Zeck of all people.
Wow.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Well, anyways, I just remember because I still bought it and read the hell out of it and enjoyed it, but I just remember it's like this doesn't.
I wonder, you know what though? I wonder if that came out kind of like Star Wars comic, like it came out before the movie. You know, so you have the artist like going, I don't know.
He said that he got once again did some reading. I got this is how I know some of the Marvel stuff. I didn't even know this came out last year, but it's the Marvel art of George. So this goes from the beginning of his career to up until he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it said he got some stills for Logan's Run. You know, they were able to at least get some stills. for
Well,
it.
that makes a lot more sense now because, like, I do remember also, was it Howard Chaykin's Star Wars? I remember
Yeah,
being very
yeah.
disappointed in that.
Right, because it didn't look like Luke Skywalker, and then you're like, but they didn't have a clue, you know? It was like,
They also didn't think it was going to go anywhere
Yeah.
because Roy Thomas said that he had to really bend the arm of editorial. Maybe I think it was Roy Thomas, just to get him to do it, because they were like, this isn't going to go anywhere. We don't want
I
to do
think
this.
Lucas and Fox, I think they pretty much gave the license to Marvel for nothing to do the
Yeah.
comics as
just
well.
to get it out there, yeah.
Yeah, they thought it was good
It
promotion.
was Klaus
there it
Janson.
is.
Yep.
It was Klaus, yeah.
And
Good call.
yeah.
Klaus
Yeah.
is a guy that you would never think to pair with George. And
No.
once again, this is like 74, 75, I think. So it's really early on in his career. But still, I thought it turned out really well.
Yeah.
Klaus
Well, you know-
inking George.
Yeah, Klaus Janson is an interesting dude because the way he inks. I saw him over Sal Buscema in a Defenders issue I picked up
So
recently.
good.
And it looked
good.
Sal is fine. He has a very Marvel House style, that kind of stuff. But Klaus inking him like took it to a different level. I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
really cool.
Klaus on Gil Kane is great too.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's
The
great.
Daredevils and that What If #2.
That
Oh, yeah.
What If, that's the one I was just thinking of, because it's all the Avengers, and
Yeah.
Klaus's line is just so nice.
Oh, wait a minute, are you talking about? I don't mean to get like overly geeky specific here, but What If #2 is the Hulk? You mean What If #3 with What If the
Yeah,
Avengers?
3, yeah.
Yeah,
What If the
okay.
Avengers? Yeah.
Yeah, I collected that
Geeky.
as a kid, but I haven't seen those issues. I got to get some of those again. I used to have them, but I haven't seen them in like 30 years. So
I can't
Did
remember
Terry
if they
Austin ever
reprinted that #3 as a Treasury or not. I think I don't know. I don't
They
want
may
to
have.
Terry Austin ever inked George?
I don't.
that
think
would have been a
so.
good match.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, Graham, I'll pull it up once you get it.
Yeah, I
Terry
would have
inked
loved to see
George
that.
only on like covers. He inked some Avengers covers.
That's right. In an X-Men cover, right?
Oh, he inked. I take it back. He inked X-Men Annual #3 over George. It's the only full X-Men book George ever did. Terry inked it, except for one page. Terry was up hanging out with Byrne, and he was like, hey, you want to ink a page over George? And John was like, sure. So George inked one
So
page in
George
that X-Men
Perez
Annual.
George Perez did a X-Men book.
Yeah, I
he did
didn't know
X-Men
this.
Annual
I
What
didn't-
was
#3.
the guy's name? The bow and arrow guy in he's
Hawkeye.
got the
Green
long
Arrow?
hair. No, in the X-Men Annual, I'm trying to think of his name. He's got the long hair because I'm seeing the art in my.
Yeah,
in
no,
my-
I know exactly who you're talking about. He's from isn't he from a different time period?
Yeah, I think.
his name's Kazar.
No.
Yeah.
No. Here's what Graham's talking about right
Yeah.
there, baby.
Look,
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
that.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
look at
Look
this.
at those juicy
That's
ink
it.
lines.
Look at
That's the
those
line I'm
juicy
thinking
ink
of, Graham.
Oh, wow. God.
Look at this right here. That is
Yeah.
ballsy.
Yeah.
You know who that is on some level? That's Dick Giordano too. Like
Yeah.
that's-
That's what I was gonna say. It's almost like a Giordano Adams like feel to some of
like
it.
a slicker,
Dude, if you
like
look
a
at-
slicker, Giordano.
I was just looking at, in fact, it's right back here. Totally off topic, but who cares? This Superman, I'm going to full screen real quick, Graham.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, that's cool.
This Superman Radio Shack book
Oh yeah.
Never
is
seen that.
drawn. Let me get to a page. It's drawn by Jim Starlin, but inked by Dick. But there's so much in here that I was like, man, it looks like at the time period this was, I'm like, I wonder if Klaus inked some of this. Because there's just some traits in here of it.
Well, Klaus worked in the studio with Dick for a while too, right? Just like Terry Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry was his background guy.
Yeah. But yeah, I love this Radio Shack book. It looks like it just says art by Jim Starlin, Dick Giordano. I'm betting Jim only did layouts.
Well, that leads me into like some of my favorite George Perez inkers, Dick Giordano in the early Crisis stuff. I thought was really, really cool. I thought it And there's something about George's work that that kind of needs like a heavy hand, and to me, anyways, personally. And so I thought Dick was like a nice hybrid of styles.
Mhm.
And then when Jerry Ordway came on the book, I thought it got so slick. I thought it looked amazing, and it started looking a little bit more like Jerry's work.
Well,
Like,
George was doing layouts.
oh, was he? So
Yeah.
Jerry was doing finishes. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's why. But anything Jerry inks usually looks like Jerry anyway.
True.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, those are two of my favorites. And then just like a little aside, as you guys brought up Pablo Marcos, and so you know, I was a big fan. Like I said, like George in those Avengers days was probably one of the first guys that I was like, oh, you know, paying attention to a name. And Pablo was always, you know, associated with him. And so
Yep.
my first work at DC Comics was on the Warlord. And so when Bob Greenberger told me, we're going to get Pablo to ink you, I was like, holy shit, that's the guy that inks, you know, George Perez. And I was so,
Oh, wow.
so ecstatic. And then I got the pages back and I was just like, they weren't that good. And then I found out like years later that I think Pablo, that he had a family member that was getting sick, like was sick or something.
Oh.
And so he was taking on a lot of work, and that he was working with family members, like, you know, like other inkers, stuff like that, to finish the work so he could make the money. Because there was no royalties. I mean, really the only way you could make money back then is just sheer volume. And so, you know, looking back, I go, well, you know, that's okay. It was my first job. So what do you expect? But when your first job, you put everything you have into it, right? And your expectations are through the roof. And when it comes back and it's just not like what you think it should be, you're just really, really disappointed. But then I found out later, you know, that there was, you know, the situation with Pablo. But yeah, Pablo in the early days, and then Romeo, is it Romeo Tangal? Is that
Romeo Tangal? Yeah.
On Titans? That stuff was really, really tight as well. I like that as well.
So
Is
this is George inked by Bob Layton, but apparently Byrne saw this and goes, "Oh, you can do hair on Wolverine's arms, sweet!" And then Byrne just took it to another level with him.
You know, he drew him so hairy. Yeah, that's interesting. I did not know that was Perez, but I was very, very strange in my readership. I did not read X-Men at all.
Me neither.
I didn't read the FF that much,
That's
and you know, so this stuff kind of slid by me, I'm afraid.
Well, this completely slid by me. I had no idea that George Perez did an X-Men comic.
Although Keith
Andy,
Pollard
could you
did some
share
really
my
good
screen?
FF stuff.
Oh yeah, let me do that.
Yeah. This is Dick Giordano inking over me.
Oh, I had that
Oh.
issue. I like Dick's work, so
Oh,
Now that's
So-
interesting because that's slicker than I would have thought that he would have been.
really?
Don't you think?
I
Scum.
don't know. I find his stuff. These are pretty bad scans, I have to say, because a lot of line work is breaking up. Because I have some of these originals. I think I've got this page here.
Did you have really tight pencils, Graham?
Yeah.
Okay, well
These
that's
are fantastic, Graham.
yeah, these are cool.
Oh,
Are you
thanks.
ever going to sell them or part with them, or are you going to keep them because they're Giordano?
Some of the nicer ones I'll keep. The stuff with Batman in it, you know. This one, this is like real Giordano stuff, right?
Yeah,
here.
yeah, there it is. Yeah,
You
I
know.
can see it now.
That Alfred face on the previous page looked very Giordano too.
Mm-hmm.
He just it was really cool. Oh yeah, I wish I had this page.
Ooh, Bane
Oh,
without
wow.
his mask.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I wish I had this page. I
This
don't know
is
if I ever
inked
had it.
great. Look at that. Look at the inking on the last panel. The jaw right there and the chin, the cheek.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's nice.
He's just, you know, when I get to see Giordano ink lines on my Batman, it's like, oh my god, this takes me back to when I was a kid, you know. And
Oh, that last panel.
Yeah,
That's
look
awesome.
at that, Graham.
last panel.
this
That
here,
pose and everything.
Yeah.
Love that. That's killer.
The cape is
You know, it's
killer.
funny. As soon as I see that last panel, just the way you designed the blacks in his cape, I'm like,
Mhm.
did he spell something there?
I see what you mean.
You
Did
know
he
what I
what?
mean?
It says
Yeah,
Batman.
it almost like it could say something, like
Yeah. If you
Like
stole
Neil
the
used to
word,
do.
yeah. No,
Yeah, I got to ink Dick Giordano on on the Superman wedding album, and that was crazy. That was one of my like inking idols, and I got to actually ink him. That was pretty cool. And he inked me on a Human Target story.
Oh, that's cool because he's one of the
no
creators.
way!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at
So,
that
fun
shot,
stuff.
Graham. You were on fire. Look at this.
yeah, that's good. Oh, that's nice right there. Love that. That's a really good page right there, man.
I was in the zone, man.
Sure, man. You do that monthly stuff, you get into a zone.
Yeah, that's right. Your old stuff is better, Nolan.
All right, Mark Brooks.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's right. It's getting worse now.
No, it's not.
I know that.
It's all great stuff, but it's getting better. I like your stuff now because you're trying different things. You're actually inking your own work, and so you get to experiment and try new stuff, which I think is great personally as a creator, but also the readers get to enjoy a new different version of yourself.
Yeah, and I like to change the style too, depending on the story, so that it better reflects the 448 pages.
That's
took that long.
That's one long issue, man.
In a month.
So yeah, it's just fun. We were talking about Dick, and so I just thought I'd share that.
There's the George Perez glint in Batman's eye.
Way to bring it around.
That was your tribute.
Bring it right back.
So this is the annual that George did. Now he didn't do the cover. I think it's Bill Sienkiewicz on the cover with Terry Austin inks. So that's weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Not Sienkiewicz on that cover, is it?
Look at the pose.
You can see the Neil swipes in the figure work, like in that
Cyclops. That's very Neil Adamsy. I thought it was either Kane or Adams.
I think even with
Kane to me.
It could be Kane, but it's the same.
I'll have to look it up. But the interior is George and Terry. It's the only thing those two guys did.
Oh man, that's together. A great job.
I'm going to say that looks like Paul Smith on the cover.
Could be.
Right.
Paul Smith inking him, or
no, who drew the cover?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the guy I was talking about with the arrows in the helmet.
Yeah, I can't.
So cool. This was a great job.
It's Archon, yeah.
Archon. This is a great job. Terry, it didn't matter. Like Terry was the magic sauce back in the day. Like it didn't matter if it was Marshall Rogers. It didn't matter if it was, George Perez, John Byrne, Art Adams, whomever. It got a magical touch.
Yeah.
Not like a Michael Jackson touch.
Oh,
where he's touching children.
I like Terry.
I was going to say, wait a minute, what's he touching? Let's clarify here what we're talking about.
Come on, guys.
Man, this must have been kind of. I would hate to be the writer or word balloon placement dude over Perez because everything is so packed. Usually, this has some open space in it, but you look at some of his like crisis stuff and things like that where there's just so much going on. It's like I don't want to cover up any of this.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll go through.
You get pissed off when somebody does that because you just look like there's like 3 hours of my day that's just covered with word balloons.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Let's go back to that Twinkies ad. Is that good Twinkies before they went bad? Do you think?
Yeah, of course. This is 1970s. Don't pay attention to that. Yeah. This is 79.
So I got to do a couple of these for DC. That was just like it's like one of those dumb bucket list things. I did a Snickers thing with Shazam, and then I did a what do you call it? What are the frozen pops? What are they called? The
like yogurt
popsicles. Thank you. The a popsicle box that had like a 2-page or a 2-part Wonder Woman story on it. That was kind of fun. That was printed on the back of the popsicle boxes. So.
You know what's amazing about this scrolling is all the ads, and they're all like aimed at children.
Yeah.
Right. Star Wars.
Yeah, the good old days, right?
That's right. I'm trying to find the page that Byrne inked.
There's it right there.
That could be it.
No, it was
No?
no. Terry
It's a
didn't.
big.
Terry,
It's
no, when
got
you see it,
a big panel on it.
Terry didn't give him a good page to ink.
Wow, look
No.
at that page.
Wasn't like he riding a horse or riding
Look at
a.
that palace. Gee, many
Holy
Christmas.
cow, look at that shit.
I
Yep.
know. It's nuts.
And he did this in 2 days.
Oh my
It'd take me
goodness.
3 days to do that one page.
It'd take me 3 days to figure out what I was going to do, and then I'd have to draw it.
Well, that was the thing too. That reminds me. I remember reading another book that came out in the 80s called Focus on George Perez, and they did one on Focus on John Byrne. And there's a picture in it, and George would like to lay on his couch with his lapboard and draw that way. And I'm like, I just can't do that. I've got to sit at a desk with the angle.
Not when you have that much. Well, when you have that much stuff going on, that'd be very hard to draw. I could do the figure work on my lap, but when you have to start like the background and stuff, I've got to have it, where I can get my vanishing lines and my vanishing points and my.
Those up, so
I know, but
I can see
still,
why he could do it on a lap board.
All right,
it's crazy.
Wow.
I don't want to find it because I know I'm getting close to it.
Ooh,
And
coming
you can
soon,
really
Rom
see
Space
that-
Night.
Oh,
Look at that first panel. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Gee.
this scan's not that great, but this I don't know if this is the page he inked.
Why
would
would
Burn-
Burn? Why would Burn? That's too much work. There's no way
Yeah,
Burn
No,
would take on that page.
No, Burns is super simple, and he's like he's writing something.
That is that it? Because look at that hand. That looks like a
Oh,
burn
look
on
at
it.
that face.
No,
Yeah.
this is Terry.
Really?
That's a great shot of.
Yeah.
Is that Storm dressed up as somebody?
Yeah, it's Storm.
Yeah. Storm.
How
that
do you
looks like
read
a
this
burn
page,
storm.
though?
That's a great page right there. I love
How
that.
do you read it, though?
You read
Well,
it.
you're gonna
right,
read everything
down,
on the
and
left
this is
hand
the last
side. And,
panel.
yeah, the big panel is the last panel, but yeah, it is confusing, or it can be.
Yeah, all you do is look at that last panel. That's all.
But he tried.
I know,
though,
you don't even
because
care
look
what's
at the
going on.
thick
Yeah, he
black
tried
border.
to bounce your eyes back with that border.
That
Yeah.
big
Yep.
solid border. Yeah, the editor
Yeah.
went, this is confusing. What can we do to fix this?
No, I'm just gonna go look at the hot chick. I don't care about the other stuff.
Let's see. That is not it.
No.
Oh, this is it. This is
There
it.
you go. Like I said, he was writing on something. That's
Yeah,
the
this
one.
is. You're right, Dan. This is it because you can look at the texture on that dragon and see burn all over it. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that tight Terry crispness to it.
Right.
Wow, that's a lot of work. I'm surprised Byrne took that page. I'm not saying Byrne's lazy, but I'm just saying that's
You
a lot
can
of
say
work.
it, Aaron. Go on.
Well, yeah,
No.
but any one of these pages is a lot of work.
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
That's true.
You know.
I guess I would have taken the one with the dragon too. I was like, okay, give me the one with the dragon.
There's more open space on that panel than there were
Yeah.
on the other ones.
It's true. So this was the only time, and then the closest you could say to Terry that inked George at Marvel was Gene Day, on the Marvel 2-in-1 stuff.
Oh, Gene Day. Those guys,
Okay,
the
do
Day
you know those
brothers are
posters
good.
back there? That
What?
tattoo one I actually owned. Go back to the posters, the ads. Yeah, that tattoo one I had that.
Are
It
you
was right
kidding
over
me?
The tattoo? Are you kidding me? From
It was,
Fantasy
right over
Island?
it was right over my bed.
I had that
What?
Pharaoh one
Why
down
would you
there. That-
admit that?
Oh,
I'm just joking, man.
oh,
No,
creeping
you're
me out.
not.
I had the Pharaoh one. I'll admit
Yeah.
that.
I
Is
thought
that-
you had
oh,
the
there's one,
whiskers
yeah.
one.
You
Hey,
had the
who's that
Whiskers
up-
Graham? Yeah.
Who's the chick right at the very top next to Robbie Benson? Who's that? Yeah,
Kathy
there.
Bauman?
Kathy Bauman. Who's
Yeah, I don't
that?
even know who that is.
I had the Scott Baio one in the
And then-
bottom.
You
Look
had
at
this
him. Looks like he's
giant.
got hip.
he
Scott
had
Baio.
tattoo and Scott
Pleasure.
Baio.
Look at his hip cocked out like a girl.
Yeah. Wow.
What
I
a
gotta
man
find
you
out who
had.
Kathy Bowman was. She must have
Yeah,
been
I
in some
don't
television
recognize
show.
that name.
And
How
who's
did you-
what's that?
How'd you spell the last name?
BAUMANN.
Oh,
There she
yeah, this
is.
is gonna be a good. This is gonna be a good.
Share the
departure
screen,
there.
Aaron.
Get some
Share the
photos.
screen.
Does it say what her bona fides are?
Yeah,
She's a hot chick.
I still don't know who this chick is.
I've never
Hang
heard
on.
of her. The question is she still around?
The question is he going to share it?
Well, it's kind of a small
Question is,
picture.
can
But,
he share it?
oh, I can share it. Hang on a second here. Let me. Well, here's the poster right here. She kind of looks like Wonder Woman or something, but
Here you go. Frank Miller drew that cover to the X-Men.
Okay.
Because Frank did have that gill thing going on back then.
Yeah, he had a lot of that still going.
Yeah.
All right, here it comes. A little better picture of Kathy.
Bowman.
Okay.
Whoa.
My best to you always, Catherine Bowman, but I still don't know who that she is.
That's for, Farrah was for the fans of the top shelf, and this lady seems to be fans of the bottom shelf.
All right, now this is a smaller picture, but look at the gams on this chick, man.
Yeah.
I hope Shelley's not watching.
Can you send that to me, please? I want to see if that poster's still available. That is my kind of poster.
Yes, I'm a leg.
Oh, you like this one?
That's her too?
Yeah.
These look like they were done in the 60s almost.
It does have a 60s feel.
I mean, she must have just been like a TV guest star or something, because I don't. The pictures that came up when I searched her, they're nothing from any show that I recognized,
Yeah, but hold on. I already forgot. It's Kathleen?
No, Kathy Bowman. Kathy Bowman.
She's an American actress, model,
couture
handbag designer. That's about all it says. She's 72. She was born in 49. And then
she
there's
had
a
a
list
poster.
of movies.
She
was in The Thing with Two Heads in 1972.
Oh no, she was in that?
Yeah.
With Ray Milland and Rosie Greer?
Oh no. Really? Hey, someone in the chat says she was on Vegas with Robert Urich.
Oh.
Okay, well that would explain why she'd be in a 70s comic.
Yeah.
Or was that an 80s issue? It was probably 80s, right?
She was in Sunburst. No, it was 79. That book was 79.
All right. Well, she was born in 49. Yeah. So
30.
She was 30 at that point. Yeah.
Man, we have gone off the rails on this show, haven't we?
Holy cow. Have we ever?
There you go. Here's some stuff. Every one of these shows I've watched. I believe
that's what I figured. She must have been like a perennial guest star on television shows, because she was never, that I remember, a main player on a television show.
Right.
She was on Boys Walls. She had her place.
She had her place.
She had her place. All right. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we're off of Kathy Bowman, we can move on back to George. Okay. So go ahead and share that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He's probably appreciating these pictures too.
Yeah, he is.
Right.
Okay. So like I said, I never really, I was aware that George was doing stuff at DC. I just wasn't reading it because I was just constantly, I was just Marvel, right? But then when he did this action stuff, it was like I rediscovered him. I'd seen this stuff on Crisis and all that kind of stuff, but I was like, I didn't want to get into it because I was like, this is too complicated. I'm not really a DC guy, so I'm going to just get lost in all this. So I never really got into Crisis. But I saw these action covers, and especially this one. For George Perez to do a cover so graphic and simple and yet so incredibly effective, it just blew my mind. Because I never would have, you always think about George, hyper detailed, super busy. And there is a lot of woodwork back behind Superman there, but that cover blew me away.
That's a powerful, powerful cover.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. And that got me starting to look at his stuff again with fresh eyes on his Superman stuff in action. And I really liked what he was doing at that time. It was like he had refined his stuff.
Well, once again, though, during this action stuff, Brett Breeding was inking over George's layouts.
Oh, those were George's layouts?
Well, not
the cover, though, I'll bet.
No, George penciled and inked the covers, but on the interior, Brett was inking over his layouts. And his layouts are tight, but you could see more Brett. And I thought it was an interesting combination because Brett is kind of like, comes from the Joe Rubinstein school, which is a Dick Giordano school.
Right.
so on and so forth.
But
And
his covers, I just really on some of these Action Comics stuff was just killer.
Well,
and he was
the
writing
second
that
issue.
stuff too, wasn't he?
What's that?
Yeah.
He was writing these too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think him and was it Roger Stern for a while, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But so it was kind of like in the this was sort of my rediscovery period of George Perez was during his run on Superman, and I just, like I said, I just thought that the way he was doing some of his line work and stuff on these, I just thought was really cool looking. And unfortunately, everybody's got stories to tell about George, and I think the only time I ever met George is when he came to CrossGen that one day, or was there for a couple days, whatever. And I just briefly met him and maybe talked to him very, very briefly. But I will echo what Graham had said, and some of you guys that I've been to cons where he had a line a mile long, and he sat there all day to accommodate his fans. And I mean, again, that's someone who really cares not only about his work but the industry and the people that support him, and that's the kind of, because there's so many egos in this business. You wouldn't think so. I always looked at it like, how can you have an ego? You're drawing comics, you're not saving the world. But there's a ton of egos in comics. But George was a guy that always came off to me, and again, like I said, I unfortunately I never got to know him, but just from looking at a distance, was a guy that would really cared about the fans that supported him and really gave back to the industry. And I think if you're looking back on your career, I think we all would love to say, oh yeah, everybody thought I was a great artist, and I guess that's important. But man, when you can look back in your life and people say what a great person you were, that holds so much more water than how good of an artist you were. And he was obviously an excellent artist as well. But I just think that the person that he was, and that, again, I didn't get to know him, and I didn't know him well, but from what I understand and what I heard and what I observed, just a terrific guy. And I think that goes a long way.
And let me just say, Aaron, you are an awesome artist.
Oh, dang.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, if I can just get people to say I'm an awesome dude, then I've got my bases covered. So.
An awesome dude.
So you know how the Hero Initiative is reprinting the Justice League Avengers stuff?
Are they? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, the Hero Initiative, they got DC and Marvel to come to terms to reprint Justice League Avengers in a new trade paperback, but they're only doing 7,000 copies. And,
I saw that.
And so I was doing some looking. So this is the first one they did, right? This thing goes for like $150 now,
dude.
This is the first, I had no idea. This is on my bookshelf, and I was looking on eBay. Yeah, this thing goes for $150.
Dude, put some cotton gloves on and put that in a bag, will you, before you destroy it?
Dude, seriously.
Collector Aaron is going nuts.
I know, Collector Aaron. Stop it. Hey, I got to tell you a quick story that has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. But I walk into Rick Hoberg's house back in the Ultraverse days, and he takes us into his studio area, and he's got stacks and stacks and stacks of comics just stacked on each other, piled up, right? And there's this short stack in front, maybe about 3 feet high. Amazing Spider-Man #1, just sitting there. I about strangled him. I'm like, put that in a bag. Are you out of your mind? Anyway, that's it.
Good time.
And then Rick goes, it's just Todd McFarlane. What do you care?
Oh
No. He also, that Wrightson piece, that John Carter piece that Wrightson did with it, where Tars Tarkas is almost entirely in silhouette and John Carter's down below him. And he's got that, or he had that original hanging by his front door. And I about strangled him for that too. Just to get it, not because he wasn't taking care of it.
Potential murder in Aaron's stories.
Well,
I'm glad I have you next.
You have something I want, then I could get pretty ugly if I can get it from you.
Then I can get my hands around your neck.
Here it is. I just happen to have this copy of A Look Back, which I just recently bought for the third time. I'm keeping it this time.
I want.
Give me full screen. Give me full screen there.
All right, hold on.
Boy, he's demanding.
I know.
Okay, that John Carter piece right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
on the right.
Holberg had it. Holberg, I don't know if he still does, but he did, and it was hanging there on his wall right by his door.
I don't think I've ever seen that piece.
And it's full color too. It's reproduced black and white here, but it's a full color piece.
Oh, okay.
So it's really cool.
Wow.
Anyway, there you go. Once again, taking the show completely off the rails.
No, that's fine.
Let's get back to Katie Bowman or whatever.
So much you can say, you know.
Yeah, so Hero Initiative is just, they're doing 7,000. I know the store in my town, because they're being solicited to stores. When I first read it, I thought you ordered it directly from the Hero Initiative, but it's going to shops. And snacky time. And the store in my town's already had a request from like close to 100 people. So they're just going to take it. And this is cool. It's Shelton Drum, his store.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to, however many copies he gets, let's say 3, and he's just going to let everybody know when, and he's going to do an auction, and then all the proceeds he's just going to donate back to the Hero Initiative.
I thought he was going to break pool sticks.
I would hope.
I don't get it.
There's a scene in The Joker where there's 2 guys, and he goes, "I got one position," and he breaks a pool stick, and he goes, figure it out." You know?
No.
Yeah. So, but wow, we've been going for an hour 42. I think we can call it if everybody wants, or if there's anybody has anything last to say.
Well, hold on. I just about found that Batman image.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I just want to say while you're looking for that, that if George is watching, you know, all our prayers for all of us, I think, are going to you in your struggle and in your journey as you move on from here, and know that you are loved by millions, and you're an inspiration to many. So God bless you, George.
I remember. Yes,
made a huge impact on a lot of people.
George Perez comic books in my treehouse, my Justice League fort, reading those old Avengers books. Yeah, good times.
Yep. Did you find it, Art?
Nobody likes dead air, Art. Come on.
I'm going. It takes me a while.
Oh, here we go. Hold on.
All right, so this is Kevin Nolan inking over me.
Oh,
wow. Blow that up some.
Well, that's actually good, Art. I mean,
what?
Where's his signature?
No. This isn't. I'm just joking.
I was going to say.
I was looking for the Nolan lines, and I don't see any. I was like, "Are you messing with us?"
Yeah, here it is.
There it is.
That is clearly.
Oh, so that's just Kevin Nolan, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
On it becomes him.
Yeah, he changed the lighting, everything, pretty much the whole structure of it. Yeah.
But that's the cool thing, right? It's like I had Nebray's ink, a pinup I did for Valiant. I demanded it, and it came back, and you wouldn't even know I had anything to do with it, but I didn't care because now I had a Nebray's original, and I still got it. It's just cool.
Yeah, but and we keep asking you to show it on stream, and you haven't. So what the hell?
I also in my art book, Kevin did the foreword for me as well, and I use that artwork. So. He's a great guy, man. Great artist.
Is it in the art book that you did the crowdfund for?
Yeah, it's not in the book.
That.
It's in the dust. It's on the dust jacket.
Oh,
so the
I'll have to go back and look
on
then.
the dust jacket.
Oh, that's cool.
Which, by the way, I'm going to reissue very soon. So, if you guys missed out on oodles of doodles and other stuff too.
I was going to say before we wrap up, since you're up first, Art, plug away, and we'll go around the horn.
I will plug away. Yes, Black and White Man versus Machine, Volume 2. It's the epic conclusion to the origin saga of Reed Blackett, a.k.a. Black, and Whitney Sung, a.k.a. White. And started off as a 48-page story, became a 68-page story. We just couldn't stop. So this thing is epic. Drawing away on it every day, having the time of my life. And is the link in the below description, Andy?
Yes, all the links for everything is in the description below.
All right, so click on that link. Go back yourself a book. We are closing in. I think we're just like 250 away from 98K, and we are just a stone's throw away from the Six Figures Club. which will
Young lady.
be epic. Will be epic indeed. So I want to thank everybody for supporting Black and White. I want to thank all my professional brothers. I wish Billy was here. We would have had. We probably would have been able to fill more time with the sixth, George Perez story. But thanks to everybody in the chat and Aaron.
I'm working on Wraith of God, as you probably know. I'm working on actually page 58 right now, inking it. We'll have it wrapped up this evening and on to the next one tomorrow. I've also realized, as I made a list of the things I still had to do, one of them was the Ace of Spades Wraith of God playing card that everybody who backs the campaign gets. And that is almost done. And I'll be probably premiering that artwork on my show Sunday night. So you might want to check that out if you're free Sundays at 5 Pacific. But we're at 123,000 on Wraith of God. And I'm very thankful and appreciative to everybody who's backed it. And even more importantly than the dollar value is the amount of backers. Because to me, in this crowdfunding stuff that we're doing, it's all about getting people to read the books. And the more people you have reading the books, the more the movement grows, right? So we're almost at 2,000 backers. So I'm really excited about that. And I just am very thankful to everybody for supporting it. And if you haven't, please give it a look over at Indiegogo. And also, as I drop down and give this to Fragaboom, I'll say thank you, George Perez, for everything you've done for the industry and for all of us as fans over the years. So,
Mr. Boom.
Well, hello.
He's back.
He's back. He's gracing us.
No, man. I feel blessed to be with you guys. Even Art with all of his hair. I want to know what your secret
Art's
is.
kind of like a grandfather figure to you, right? And so you just have this
He's
kind
always
of
been
A great
grandfather.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a fantastic fan. Yes. Most immediately, I am traveling to Miami for a show on Sunday.
Nice.
Doing a couple shows this year, all along the East, because during my entire career, most of my appearances have been on the West Coast, just out of proximity. But you can meet the great Jen Van Damsel from Pop XP. She's going to be there. I'll be there. It's a Sunday show in Miami at the Miami Airport Hotel, Sunday only. So it'd be great to meet some of you fine folks if you're in the area or remotely close. Also, I got a little book called Black Flag coming out with lots of lines and a lot of details and word for word balloons. Don't worry. I am studied in design. John Malin, if you're watching. And I did make the mistake. Speaking of John Malin, I did make the mistake of eating Taco Bell this week.
I
saw the post, but it worked out.
No, Taco Bell is never a mistake. I mean, if you have it every day, but like
no, it was. I knew about 3 minutes in that it was not a good idea.
I want Taco Bell to like advertise on my channel.
Do you?
I love.
Okay, what do you order? Just sidebar.
Yeah, what's your favorite Taco Bell?
I know what John Malin's order is.
No, chicken chalupa supreme always, and then I will probably usually get a bean burrito in there, and maybe if I'm really hungry, I'll go with the Doritos taco.
You know, Aaron, why don't you just cut out the middleman and throw it right in the toilet? Take the bag and flush it.
It's true.
You know, they call it bean burrito, but it ain't bean.
It ain't.
Yeah. That's actually one of the few things there that doesn't
when it
upset
looks
my
the
stomach.
same going out as it did going in,
There's a problem. Yeah, you might be onto something there. You might be onto something.
Eat a diaper, poop a diaper.
It's diarrhea.
There you go.
But that's what I got going on. Also support some really fun books. I don't know if you guys, I know you guys all know Eric Canetti. Eric Canetti is a good friend. He's a friend of CG. His number 2 volume for Arc Athena is coming out in 6 days. He's launching on Tuesday.
Sweet.
Not 6 days, 5 days. He's launching on the 1st at noon. It's going to be amazing, you guys. I feel like here's a guy who delivered. He campaigned his book. He did 1 month. He didn't extend his campaign. You got the book right afterwards. And he's doing another one. So you guys keep your eyes out for Arc Athena 2.
I heard the series is pretty much done. Is it 6
Yes,
issues?
it is. He finished it before he started it. So before he
Wow.
campaigned, like he
Wow.
hardcore. I mean, this guy is
Good book too.
it's like guys like I see shows where I hear people talk about late books. I'm being one of them. One of the big what's up? I'm
Offenders.
one of the infraction makers on the late books. But then I also see guys that are on point. Graham, you being one of them. Art, everybody here, except for me, obviously. But guys like Patrick Thomas Parnell, I want to see his name on the mountaintops. I want to see guys like Eric Canetti on the mountaintops because these guys are doing good work and they're delivering. They are Comicsgate. They're true, poster children for what we want it to be. You guys include. What's that?
Patrick's a workhorse.
Pat's a workhorse.
yeah.
Canetti's a workhorse.
And you know what? You know what? If I can interrupt here, Dan, like the thing is, this is like the early Image days and stuff like that. We are wearing so many hats. So coming into this, you have no idea how many hours it's going to take you to do these things. Because most of us were responsible for one aspect of developing a comic book, but now we're responsible for everything. I know this isn't necessarily an excuse, but there is a steep learning curve, and usually the payment is time. It usually ends up taking more time than.
There's like, for me, I feel like there are forces against. That looks awesome, Art.
These are the catchy figures that Eric
Huffles. Yeah, he's amazing.
Together.
He's amazing.
Let me get this. I think this one probably photographed better.
Oh yeah, that does.
Yeah,
very fleshy looking.
He's a fleshy Keshi. Yeah. So we're gonna have these on the site soon. Eric is finishing up Whitney's song right now. White.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yes. So we lost Dan Frigga. He's back.
I got my OG muscle, man. I found them during the move.
Yeah. All right, hold on.
Oh shit, that's cool.
These are OG. Like this is the thing that we're doing. Oh, you could see my back room back there with all the freaking boxes. But yeah, I mean, like to your point, Art, there are unforeseen things. Like for me, my original merch connection, the company that was doing my merch ended up not being able to work with Comicsgate. So all the work that I'd done, the months of work that I'd done with them went away. Got sick 3 times. My printer liaison, who I've known for 30 years, died. It's like all of these things that you can't really forecast for.
The original black and white issue 1, we went through 13 colorists because this was early days of Comicsgate. People would get involved. Hi-Fi, I held out so much hope for them, and the mob went after them. And they said nothing personal, but
well, you know what? They should have read Two-Fisted Manly Tales, and they'd have a set of nuts so they can stand up to the mob.
Balls
That's
up.
right.
Which takes us to our man Graham.
Knock them out.
That's right, Graham. You're up.
All right, man. With that intro, it says it all. My latest book, A Giant-Sized Two-Fisted Manly Tales. We just finished our first 30 days, and I've added 2 more weeks to it. Then it'll go in demand. But just be warned, it will not be in demand that long because I suspect that this book will fulfill sooner than promised. It's got an April fulfillment date estimate, but I think we're gonna fulfill it a lot sooner than that. So,
Kelsey Shannon showed me. This is the cool part about being CG is we get to see things behind the scenes. He showed me the Larry Stroman pages. Holy shit balls, man. It looks amazing.
Yeah, they're amazing. And Kelsey's going to be illustrating a story that I just finished writing today. Which is it's going to be about it's a sci-fi story about a bounty hunter called Buck Thornton Always Gets His Man. And it ties into Alien Alamo. So
cool.
now the giant size two-fisted manly tales is part officially now of the Nolan verse. So I thought that was pretty cool.
The universe is complete.
Yes.
Every time,
Circle is
Graham,
complete.
every time you do that, you have to go like you're the mad
Yes, it is complete.
So yeah, guys, if you haven't checked it out, please click the link and go over there and check it out. I've got A-list team putting this stuff together. It's over 100 pages of story. You don't want to miss out on this. So if you've ever backed any of my projects, you know they come out on time. They're going to look great, and you'll always be updated. So thank you for your support, and hope you guys have a great night.
There you go. And then, of course, I'm working on First Man, great superhero fun and adventure for a new generation. Luke Henry learning to become the superhero that he knows he can be. And I am working on I'm looking over 51 right now. So I'm in the home stretch. And the link is in the description below. 64-page square-bound book. If you like fun superhero adventure, you'll love this book. So please check it out. Please check out all our campaigns. We also all have YouTube channels. You can just find them on YouTube. Easy enough. Just search our names. Professionals rotates. So next week, we like to go alphabetical. So next week, it is on Mr. Art to Bear's channel. And once again, George, we wish you the best. Our prayers are with you. Thank you for all you've done for the industry. And, personally, you're somebody's art that I really dig and just enjoy looking through whenever I can. So, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. It's because of you guys supporting our projects and our channels. You allow us to do what we love. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
And we will be back next week on Mr. Taber's channel. So until then, everybody, let's wave goodbye.